Another Wednesday is come and gone, and I got some comics. Let's talk about them. Welcome to Nine Panel Grid. This week, we've seen the forming of magical accords, technological spectacles, and the continuing mystery of a disappearing Canadian township. But we're going to start this week with Resurrection of Magneto number 3, written by Al Ewing with artwork by Luciano Vecino. So this has been an interesting issue. We're kind of seeing the tropes of what we see in a lot of these stories here, facing your own demons, kind of looking at the darker version of yourself and choosing to lean into the light and be the better person that you're supposed to be. It's juxtaposed quite a bit by the coloring and the artwork choices in here. It feels very claustrophobic in the way that almost all of the backgrounds are completely void of anything besides blackness all around here. So it kind of is reminiscent almost a little bit of that old school John Byrne Alpha Flight story where you have nothing but Snowbird in the white backgrounds here. I'm not going to say it's a lazy choice artistically. I understand the reasoning behind it, but it kind of leaves a little bit to be desired here from everything that you're seeing from the artwork. With that being said, though, it is a fun story. I like seeing Eric and Storm move forward here and kind of get back to the place where they need to be. It does feel very putting the toys back in the toy box, because we know that the Krakoan era of the X-Men it's wrapping up here, and we got to get back to where these characters are kind of their more stripped away, like pure versions of what they are. So this is definitely within that vein here. With that being said, these are two of the strongest characters I believe are in the X-Men right now and have been for quite a while. So seeing them continue that journey is still very interesting. I'm always on board for an Al Ewing story. So, Resurrection of Magneto, what are you all thinking? All right, next on the list we have John Constantine Hellblazer, Dead in America, number 3, written by Simon Spurrier with artwork by Aaron Campbell. First and foremost, good lord, that is a mouthful of a title to get through. I didn't even include the Sandman universe part of it, but it's very appropriate because this issue is verbose. It took me, no kidding, 4 sittings to get through this, and a couple cries for help out to the back chats here saying, "What am I missing here? What's going on in this story that I'm not picking up on?" For the longest time, I thought that it was really just a matter of the fact that I didn't finish Simon Spurrier's previous run on Hellblazer, and I thought that's maybe what was weighing me down on this. Went back, read that. I still feel completely lost in this. I really don't know what the purpose is. I understand that Morpheus came to John Constantine with a little mission, feeling a little bit like he's just kind of going through the motions on this. I really don't feel any connection with these characters whatsoever, though, and it feels like every page is disconnected from what I'm supposed to be following and what's going on here. Furthermore, there's a little bit of confusion with me, especially about the side characters. For instance, in this issue in particular, we see Swamp Thing come back. Now, I was a big fan of the Swamp Thing run that previously had just wrapped up here by Rom V, and the avatar of the green had changed. Now, I don't know if this is supposed to be that same character that we saw in the previous run, if this is supposed to be the more traditional Alec Holland version of the Swamp Thing avatar, if it's something completely new. I don't know. So that wasn't a huge plot point, but it did take me out of the story a little bit. I do think it's really interesting, though, the fact that John Constantine is in America. So Simon Spurrier is being very cognizant of that, and he's kind of pulling in different regional folklores and mythologies based around where he's at. He's not kind of keeping everything so traditional and demonic, I guess, is what I would say in regards to what we've seen previously. So that's the best part of the book right now. I'm struggling a little bit with it, but I'm going to stick with it. I want to see where it goes here. I'm still interested in Constantine as a great character. So, John Constantine, Hellblazer, Dead in America. Let me know your thoughts. All right, next up on the docket, we have Blade number 9, written by Brian Edward Hill, with artwork by Valentina Pinti. So, staying in the vein of the almost video gamey things that I've talked about previously with Resurrection of Magneto, this issue feels very fetch questy. It just really kind of feels like Blade is, go pick up this, go do that, go prepare for the final battle. level up your XP, kind of things like that. Then that's not to say it's a bad issue. I really enjoyed this issue. It's filled with attitude. It's got great dialogue. Brian Edward Hill, I think I've said this week over week over week. I think he's a masterful writer, especially when it comes to dialogue and narration. So it doesn't feel bogged down with the nature of the fact that I won't say nothing happens in this issue, but it's just the stepping stone. And actually, with the fact that this being the penultimate issue, it makes a lot of sense that that's the case. But I'm ready for the culmination of all the things that we've seen here. Blade has definitely leveled up. He's gained new powers. He's made new friends along the way. All the things that you would want out of a storyline. So it's been really entertaining. It's been really fun. Without Eliana Casagrande on the artwork, it's been a little peak and valley. I think that they've gotten good fill-in artists, with this one in particular being one of the high points on here. But I'm ready for Casagrande to come back here to wrap up the whole series here. Not to say that I want the series to wrap up, but it is what it is. We know we have Blood Hunt coming down the pipeline here from Jed McKay, so I'm interested to see what that's all going to be about here. But with that being said, Blade number 9, what are y'all thinking? All right, diving into some indies, we have a brand new number 1 this week, Dawnrunner by Ram V with artwork by Evan Cagle. This has been a really, really fun issue. It's very much in the same vein of Godzilla stories, or very specifically Pacific Rim, if I'm really diving into it. It kind of lays the landscape of this world that's been ravaged by, they're not necessarily called kaijus, but giant monsters. The only way to battle these giant monsters, of course, nuclear weapons doesn't work. There's no other way to battle these except for developing giant Titan robots to go ahead and do battle with these things. Um, in this world, though, it's really taken more of an aspect of almost like a sporting event as opposed to world defense, which it still is. But this is a world where you can see, Titan sponsored by Nike or something like that, or the people that pilot these machines, they're definitely seen as like Tom Brady's of the world as opposed to people that are defending us, which is kind of a really cool inversion of what we would expect to see from those things. Um, it's got a really, really interesting hook here. And I say it's kind of like Pacific Rim in the way that there is a mental connection with the robots that they're piloting. And you definitely see that with the hook, the cliffhanger that this issue leaves you with. I don't want to give too much away here, but there's a new robot that's been developed here. It's in a testing mode. The pilot goes in here, our superstar pilot, and it leaves us with maybe a little bit more to the story of this mental connection than what we had previously maybe thought was going to happen. The artwork is absolutely fantastic. I would argue that it's probably the best artwork of any issue that I've seen all week, and it just delivers on the promise of what we want here, which is going to be robots and monsters. So, with that being said, Dawn Runner number 1, excellent first issue. Can't wait to see what's coming next. And it's really not expected from what we would usually see from Rom V. So, let me know your thoughts. All right, next up on the list, we have The Displaced number 2, written by Ed Brisson with artwork by Luca Casalagueda. This has been a really fun and interesting continuation from what we got with issue 1. So with issue 1, we saw that a Canadian township had really been swallowed up whole by the earth. There had been nothing that had been left over. The townspeople had completely forgotten what was going on here. It's almost as if the town didn't exist at all. On top of that, you had an old man that was trying to stop all of this from happening, or at least warn as many people as he possibly could, as this maybe isn't the first time that this has happened. So issue 2 really kind of follows up on the cliffhanger that issue 1 had, and it kind of further develops that story. We take a couple new steps. We see how the survivors of the township that was swallowed up, how they're dealing with the mystery of everything that's happening. It shows how they're being impacted by the fact that their families don't remember them. Nobody understands, what happened to the town or that it even existed. Their bank accounts, if they banked in that town, are all gone. So how do they survive? How do they move on? And why does this old man have all of the answers to their questions? So it's been a really fun issue. Ed Brisson is really he's giving you enough storytelling beats to keep you entertained. He's not drawing out the mystery too long, but he's giving you enough new questions to keep you entertained and keep you wanting more. I'm definitely going to be in for the next issue based on his writing alone. Now, moving on to the artwork, it is excellent. It's gritty, it's textured, it's really reminiscent of an older version of Sean Phillips, maybe what we saw in the very early issues of Criminal that him and Ed Brubaker had worked on. It's fun, it's energetic. He keeps the pacing really tight, really nice. You know, you're moving from panel to panel with with ease. Nothing is bogging you down. One of the best aspects of this issue, though, and the series so far, has been the lettering. Hassan Atman Al How, he makes you feel the emotions of these people. They're distraught, they're worried, they're angry, they're going through a range of emotion. You feel that with every word balloon and every letter that's presented in the story. So the characters are driving this. They're telling a fantastic story, and I'm really interested. Displace number two. What do you guys think? All right, from Boom Studios, we have a brand new number one, Man's Best, written by Pornsak Pinchot with artwork by Jesse Lonigan. This has been a really fun issue. Now, first and foremost, I'm not really big on the animal driven stories that we've seen in the past. Strays was a huge book that popped off, but it had that animation quality reminiscent of like Roger Rabbit and things like that. And that just hasn't vibed with me. It's not something that I was really looking forward to. So I kind of skipped that. Now, I took a chance on this considering that Pinchot was actually the editor on a book, We Three, written by Grant Morrison back in the day. And I thought that was an excellent, excellent read. This is reminiscent of that, but wholly its own thing. So the elevator pitch on this is that it was homeward bound in space. And I gotta say, that is 100% accurate. The three animals that we're following, a cat and two dogs, it's just so fascinating watching their interactions. They're basically emotional support animals on the spacecraft where humans are going to go terraform a new world to live on. Tragedy strikes, but in the interim, there you see that they are going through these quote unquote missions that the humans are putting them through, and it's really nothing more than fun exercises to keep the animals entertained. But listening to the dialogue of the animals and what they perceive as certain things, like there's a thing that they're told to guard from their owner, right? And they keep referring to it as the don't touch. Like, we can't let them in there. That's the don't touch. Don't do that. So it's kind of fun seeing the animal interpretations of all the things that we have different names for. On top of that, the artwork is just fantastic. It has a painterly quality to it. It's cartoony, but not in a cartoon way, if that makes sense. It definitely leans into the comic book characteristics as opposed to trying to drive some kind of realistic nature out of it. And it's just appropriate. It's perfect for the story that's being told here. It's action packed. It's got a lot of energy in it. I love the fact that they're incorporating things like the Kirby crackle, as seen here. And following the animals on their adventure is definitely going to be a treat. I can't wait to see what happens with this. So, Man's Best, let me know what you guys are thinking. All right, another one from Boom Studios we have this week, Lotus Land number 5, written by Darcy Van Polgeest with artwork by Akao Felipe. So this has been a fantastic issue. I have loved this series from start to finish. When I read Little Bird back in the day, that was the first thing I'd ever seen from Darcy Van Polgeest, and he completely had his hooks in me. I will be buying every single book this man puts out until the end of time. I can tell you without a shadow of a doubt already. I think what's happening with this series in particular is that there's been so much built up towards his work, considering the fact that Little Bird was at the very least an Eisner nominee, if not, I believe, a winner. And I think that people were really expecting a continuation of that. And this is a completely different type of story. So everything that's been leading up to this has been the traditional noir detective story. It's been following our hero in a future world. It's kind of like a Blade Runner esque kind of time frame, and we're seeing that the character is going through all the tropes that we would expect on a detective story. He's working with a partner. The partner doesn't necessarily trust him. He's got his suspicions on what's happening here. All the while, there's loved ones from the past that are coming in that there's some suspicions about. But as we see in every detective storyline, in issue 5, everything kind of circles back to the beginning, and we start to see the things that we maybe suspected aren't necessarily what we took them for at face value, and maybe people we trusted weren't to be trusted. um, I expected a little bit more from the mother son plot point, especially after the cliffhanger that we found in issue number 4, where they finally meet again after the mother was so resistant to see him at all. There was legitimate worry there from her, and they didn't really spell out what the worry was going to be about. It seemed like it was more than just, I don't want to see him, I don't have any feelings for him, which was, I mean, a terrible enough notion as it is, but it seems like there could be legitimate danger that comes from it. So I was expecting something to be built up from that, and we get a little bit of time spent with them, but not enough to you know to feel fulfilled with that. With this being the penultimate issue, I'm hoping that we actually dive much further into that relationship with the next issue, so we feel some kind of resolution that comes along with it. Other than that, though, we get all the things that you would expect. There's corruption, there's double crosses. Again, there's the people that you trusted that you shouldn't have trusted. Terrible acts, moral dilemmas. I mean, what else more can I say? This is a detective story, and I'm pretty sure I hit every beat that I needed to. If that didn't sell you, I'm not sure what could. But Lotus Land, I highly recommend it. And with my top comic of the week from Dark Horse, we have If You Find This, I'm Already Dead, written by Matt Kint with artwork by Dan McDade. This has been an awesome, awesome issue. If I'm being completely honest, I'm going to have to say that I didn't expect this to be my top pick of the week. In fact, as I read through the issue, I thought it felt a little bit cliche up until I got to the end. And when I got to the end, I think I started to realize what Matt Kent was really trying to say with this story. Before I get into that story, though, let's talk about the actual issue itself. It's magazine format with faux newsprint paper with awesome grit and texture. On top of that, with the newsprint, we're also seeing some old school comic book making techniques put into play with the artwork. We're seeing some zipatone laid on there to bring in some more texture to the pictures that are being drawn here. Now, I believe it's digital zipatone as opposed to traditional. I could be wrong there, but either way, much appreciated. When there's panels that need energetic, things that are going on here, you see the use of the Kirby crackle, right? That's just emanating from these power sources. You see heavy brush lines and inks just moved across the panels. It's been awesome. The artwork is definitely new, but reminiscent of an old school thought pattern. Much appreciated. I loved it. Now, when it comes to the writing, the storyline from issues 1 through 2, I'm sorry, from pages 1 through 21, it's very exposition heavy. It's coming from the narrator really telling you the details of what's going on, what's in her mind, and where she's going, and it feels a little bit bogged down. Halfway through the issue, she starts reminiscing about her time when she was on Earth and kind of her struggles, being that she was a journalist, and seeing what humanity puts itself through, and how we go through the tortures that we lay upon ourselves, and how we can't just become a unified front for the betterment of everyone, but as societies we just crackle apart, and how we just continually fight against one another. And it's very much coming from a humanity. But then she sees that these alien creatures and their societies are going through the exact same things. Now, we've seen that in just about every sci-fi story that we've ever come to know, right? If there is any society that has a some kind of iota of intelligence, they end up going through these same struggles. Now, the cool inversion of this that we see at the very end is that the narration is really driven that humanity does this, and now we're seeing that they do this. And what we find out is that maybe humanity played a little bit more of a role in what we are seeing in this quote unquote alien civilization than what we were previously led to think. So it's really cool. It deals with the themes of absolute power, civilizations, and hierarchy. They're not new concepts, but I think the cliffhanger at the end is really going to tie things together. Now, the other cool thing that we get at the end of this is not only a sketchbook, but we also have a little cipher for the alien language that we're seeing. Now, I tried to go back and really go panel by panel and word balloon by word balloon and try to figure out what was being said here, because it was a little half and half as the narrator was trying to learn and decipher all these things as we go, so we get pieces of the puzzle. But I struggled. I don't think it lines up apples to apples, and maybe we'll get more of that in issue 3. But I think the cliffhanger that we're ending on, and with the quality of this book that we're seeing, I could not make this the top comic of the week. All right, so those are the comics I got this week, and those are my thoughts. But I'm more curious. What did you read and what are your thoughts? Do me a favor, leave a comment down below, be part of the panel. Let me know what you're reading, what I'm missing here. Do me a favor also, if you found some benefit of this, like, comment, subscribe, do all the YouTube-y things here. Thank you for watching. We'll catch you on the next video.